In January of this year, I finally got the chance to visit Montreal, Canada, and ride a lot of the transit there. On January 12, 2026, the exo commuter rail Mascouche Line began serving a new terminus at Côte-de-Liesse station to allow a transfer to the REM and shorter travel times into downtown Montreal. And while unfortunately I was unable to stay in Montreal for the first train to the new terminus, I was still in the city on Friday the 9th and rode the last ever Mascouche Line train into its old terminus at Gare Centrale, Montreal's central station. And I'm going to preface this video by saying I don't speak French, and I apologize in advance if I mispronounce anything. We took the metro out to Sauvé on the Orange Line, from which we walked to the short distance to the exo Mascouche Line station of the same name. Because the Mascouche Line, also known as Line 15, was peak direction only to and from Gare Centrale, non-peak direction and other trains often stopped at Hunsik, the last inbound train was train 1206, departing Sauvé at 8:20 in the morning and scheduled into Gare Centrale at 9:19, nearly an hour later. For comparison, taking the Metro Orange Line from Sauvé to Bonaventure, the metro station connected to Gare Centrale, takes only 20 minutes, and traveling from Sauvé to Gare Centrale via the new connection from the Mascouche Line to the REM at Côte-de-Liesse takes about 20 to 25 minutes if the transfer is lined up perfectly. So the new route change seems to be a good improvement with how much time it saves. Though I guess the one benefit of the old routing was that it provided a one-seat ride between Gare Centrale and Mascouche at the other end of the line. But regardless of how long it takes, I'm here to ride the last ever Mascouche Line train to Gare Centrale. So let's go board.
This train behind me is the final train. It's now on the Mascouche Line. It is going directly to Gare Centrale.
The low-level platforms and Bombardier MultiLevel cars are like what you'd see on some other North American commuter rail systems, so boarding this train didn't feel too out of the ordinary for me. A Via Rail train passed us around Hunsik, the penultimate station on the Mascouche Line heading into the city. Since January 12th, inbound Mascouche Line trains use a spur to serve the line's new terminus at Côte-de-Liesse, but our train was the last inbound trip to skip this spur and continue right across the REM tracks to continue towards Gare Centrale. Wandering around the car feels basically like walking through a Mark IV car, mostly because they're the same type of train car. The seats were fine and weren't uncomfortable, which was great for a train that was scheduled to take an hour to go almost 26 kilometers, or almost 16 miles, on a roundabout journey via a large freight rail yard. The upstairs of the car looks pretty similar to the downstairs, except the upstairs is set aside as a quiet zone, which is a nice feature to have on trains. I used to kind of avoid quiet cars on trains, but I've warmed up to them, especially after I sat in one on a long-distance Deutsche Bahn train, and had a very peaceful experience there. But I sat downstairs on this EXO trip, since I was joined by fellow transit enthusiasts Sammy Marco and Josh Does Travel. Quick shout out to Josh for showing us around Montreal and translating for us as we went around the city. We spent quite a lot of time going through freight yards and passing a bunch of rolling stock, and while it was cool to be able to see some Canadian national equipment, this is a massive detour through the west of Montreal that would really make your commute a lot longer. And I'm skipping over a lot of the route here, but the scenery is a lot of freight yards, suburbia, and highways, so it would probably get old pretty quickly. As we get close to downtown, we start to parallel the REM light metro into Gare Centrale. The views on the REM are much better, especially because you can stand at the front and back of the automatic trains that run on the line, but the REM will get its own video eventually. After a few moments, we pull pretty slowly into Gare Centrale, just after 9 o'clock, meaning we're actually about 15 minutes early. I guess the schedule had some extra time built in just in case of delays. The platforms here remind me a lot of the platforms at Philadelphia's 30th Street Station, where the station building is above the platforms, and I do have to say I do like 30th Street Station better than Gare Centrale, but if you're a longer term viewer of the channel, you probably know I tend to like the look of older, more classic infrastructure better. We took some photos of the train, though the lighting was admittedly not amazing on the dark platform level. But I guess we figured we'd document the last ever inbound Mascouche Line train to Gare Centrale. Now, there were evening departures that day on the Mascouche Line outbound from Gare Centrale, and these were the very last Mascouche Line trains to serve the station, but there were no more inbound trains in the evening, so our morning train was still the last ever Mascouche Line train into Gare Centrale. And the old routing of the Mascouche Line around the west of Montreal is still used by Via Rail, so you can still get these same views if you really want to. With all that being said, I think the new setup seems like an improvement, better travel times, more connectivity, and better Mascouche Line service from the new terminus at Côte-de-Liesse than what Gare Centrale had. As with every video, thanks for watching, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, comment, and or subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see y'all in the next one.